Most people think success is about talent, luck, or opportunity, but the truth is, your future is being decided every morning before the world wakes up. While most people are hitting snooze, a small group is quietly building the discipline, clarity, and momentum that separates winners from everyone else. The difference isn't intelligence or resources. It's who controls the first hour of the day. Most people think winning starts when opportunity shows up. That's a lie. Winning starts long before opportunity ever knocks. It starts with a decision to stop living life on default and start living it on purpose. And one of the clearest signals that someone has decided to win is this. They wake up before everyone else. When you wake up at 5 a.m., you are not just getting out of bed early. You are declaring war on comfort. You are telling your excuses. They no longer run your life. You are choosing discipline over feelings, direction over distraction, and growth over sleep. And make no mistake, every successful life is built on decisions like that, not on motivation. While the world is asleep, something powerful happens. Noise disappears. Distractions shut up. Nobody is pulling on you. Nobody needs anything from you. At 5 a.m., the world is quiet enough for you to finally hear your own thoughts. That time belongs to you, and people who win understand ownership. They take ownership of their mornings because whoever owns the morning eventually owns the day. Success is never built in public first. It is always built in private. Long before people applaud the results, there were mornings no one saw. No likes, no audience, no recognition, just discipline, just commitment, just someone showing up for their future when it would have been easier to stay comfortable. The results people envy are always created in moments people ignore. Your mind is at its most powerful early in the morning, before the emails hit, before social media tells you who you should be, before problems start shouting for attention. That is the moment when your belief can be strengthened, your vision can be reviewed, and your strategy can be sharpened. If you let the world program your mind first, you'll spend the rest of the day reacting. But if you program your mind first, you spend the day leading. A lot of people say they want freedom, but they reject discipline. That's backwards. Discipline is the price of freedom. Waking up early is a small daily payment that compounds into confidence, clarity, and control. It's uncomfortable at first, it stretches you, but growth always does. Comfort never changed anyone's life. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear, you Don. Rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your standards. If your standard is convenience, you'll get average results. If your standard is excellence, your life has no choice but to rise. Waking up at 5 a.m. isn't about the clock. It's about identity. It's about becoming the type of person who does what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. And once you become that person, everything changes. Your confidence changes. Your income changes. Your relationships change. Not because time changed, but because you did. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, understand this. That moment is not about sleep. It's about who you are becoming. You can roll over and stay the same, or you can get up and start building the life you keep saying you want. Winners wake up early, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Early rising is not a habit, it is a decision, and that distinction changes everything. A habit is something you do automatically, often without thought. A decision is something you choose intentionally, even when it's uncomfortable. When people say, I'm just not a morning person, what they are really saying is, I have decided comfort matters more than growth. Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you are voting for the kind of life you are going to live. Hitting the snooze button is not neutral. Staying in bed is not harmless. It is a silent agreement to stay the same. Waking up early is not about loving mornings, it's about respecting your future. Nobody wakes up at 5 a.m. because it feels amazing. They wake up because they understand something most people don't. Success rewards decisions, not emotions. Your feelings will never be aligned with your goals in the beginning. Your body wants rest, but your vision requires effort. Your mind wants comfort, but your future demands discipline. Early rising is the moment where you prove to yourself that you are in control, not your impulses. And the person who controls themselves can eventually control outcomes. Every powerful life is built on the ability to decide in advance who you are going to be, regardless of how you feel in the moment. When the alarm rings, that is not a test of sleep, it is a test of identity. Are you the person who does what is easy or the person who does what is necessary? That decision repeated daily, reshapes your self-image. And once your self-image changes, your behavior has no choice but to follow. Most people are waiting for motivation to wake them up. Winners don't wait. They decide. Motivation is unreliable, but decisions are stable. A decided person doesn't negotiate with their excuses. They don't debate their alarm clock. They already made the choice the night before. That's why early rising is powerful. It eliminates internal conflict. When you decide once, you don't have to decide again. Early rising teaches you something deeper than productivity. It teaches you self-trust. Every time you get up when you said you would, you are depositing confidence into your identity. You start believing yourself. And when you believe yourself, you move differently. You speak differently. You execute differently. People who lack confidence are often people who break promises to themselves every day. The discipline of waking up early spills into every area of life. If you can command your body out of bed, you can command your mind to focus, your mouth to speak with purpose, and your actions to stay consistent. That is why early rising is not about time management. It's about self-mastery. The uncomfortable truth is this: if you can't control your mornings, you won't control your future. The world will always try to decide for you how you think, how you spend your time, what you should want. Early rising is how you take that power back. It is the daily declaration that your life is not accidental and your success is not optional. And once you understand that early rising is a decision, not a habit, everything changes. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop negotiating with comfort. You stop hoping life will improve on its own. You stand up, literally and figuratively, and you start becoming the person your goals require. 5 a.m. is the time of ownership because it is the only part of the day that truly belongs to you. Before the world wakes up, before demands start pulling at you, before notifications, opinions, and emergencies begin competing for your attention, there's a window of time where no one owns you but you. And ownership is the foundation of every successful life. If you don't own your time, someone else will. If you don't own your focus, distractions will gladly take it. Most people don't lose their dreams because they lack ability. They lose them because they never take control of their day. At 5 a.m., the world is quiet, and that silence is powerful. Silence creates clarity. It gives you space to think instead of react. The average person wakes up already behind, already responding, already putting out fires that don't even belong to them. By the time they start thinking about their own goals, their energy is gone. But when you wake up early, you start ahead. You move from reaction to intention. You decide what matters before the world tells you what should matter. Ownership at 5 a.m. is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most first. This is the time when you invest in yourself instead of spending yourself on everyone else. You read when your mind is fresh. You plan when your thinking is sharp. You reflect before stress clouds your judgment. This is where direction is created, and life always follows direction, never intention alone. When you own your morning, So own your mindset. Whatever controls your first hour usually controls your entire day. If your first hour is chaos, your day will be chaotic. If your first hour is intentional, your day gains structure and purpose. That is why successful people protect their mornings fiercely. They understand that ownership is fragile, and once you give it away, it's hard to get back. At 5 a.m., nobody is interrupting you. Nobody is calling your name. Nobody is asking for favors. That absence of pressure allows you to build internal strength. You are no longer being shaped by external noise. You are shaping yourself from the inside out. This is where confidence is built quietly. This is where vision becomes clear. This is where discipline turns into identity. Ownership also means responsibility. When you wake up early, there is no one to blame and no one to impress. It's just you and your commitment. That's why this time is so powerful. It exposes who you really are. Excuses don't work in silence. And when you consistently show up for yourself in these quiet hours, you develop a sense of control that carries into every area of life. Most people live rented lives. Their time belongs to their job, their phone, their habits, or their past. But 5 a.m. is how you reclaim what was always meant to be yours. It's how you stop drifting and start directing. When you own the morning, you don't just prepare for the day, you prepare for the future. This is why 5 a.m. changes people, not because of the hour itself, but because of what it represents. It represents control. It represents intentional living. It represents a decision to stop being managed by circumstances and start managing yourself. And once you learn to own that time, you realize something powerful. The person who owns their morning can eventually own their life. Success is built before the world wakes up, because winning is never created in front of an audience. The results people admire are always the outcome of effort that happened when no one was watching. Long before recognition, applause, or opportunity appears, there are quiet mornings filled with discipline, focus, and commitment. While the world is sleeping, progress is being made by those who understand that preparation always comes before performance. Most people try to build their future during the busiest part of the day, when their energy is split and their attention is fragmented. They wait until after work, after responsibilities, after distractions, and by then they are exhausted. But successful people don't rely on leftover energy. They invest their best energy first. The early morning hours are when the mind is sharpest, the will is strongest, and the excuses are weakest. That is where foundations are built. Before the world wakes up, there is no pressure to impress anyone. There is no comparison. There is no noise. That environment allows real work to happen. This is where skills are developed, plans are refined, and character is strengthened. You are not performing for approval, you are preparing for results. And preparation is what separates people who hope from people who win. The unseen work of early mornings compounds over time. One morning doesn't change your life, but repeated mornings do. Every day you show up early. You are stacking discipline on top of discipline. You are building momentum quietly. And momentum, once created, is hard to stop. People will later call it luck, but you will know it was consistency. Success built before the world wakes up also creates confidence that cannot be shaken. When you know you've already put in work before most people even start their day, you move with a different level of certainty. You are not anxious about competition because you are prepared. You are not afraid of challenges because you've already faced yourself in the dark and won. Early mornings teach patience. They teach you how to work without immediate rewards. They train you to value progress over praise. That mindset is essential for long-term success. People who need constant validation rarely last, but people who can work quietly for a future payoff become unstoppable. The world only sees the finished product, never the early mornings that made it possible. They see the confidence, but not the discipline. They see the success, but not the sacrifice. That is why early rising feels lonely at first. You are walking a path most people are not willing to take, but that loneliness is temporary. The results are permanent. Success built before the world wakes up is stable. It is not dependent on trends, opinions, or circumstances. It is rooted in daily effort and personal standards. And when opportunity finally arrives, you are not scrambling, you are ready. That is the power of early mornings. They allow you to build quietly, grow intentionally, and prepare thoroughly. And when the world finally wakes up, you are not starting your journey. You are already ahead. Your mind is most powerful before it's contaminated, because early in the morning, it is still yours. Before the world speaks to you, your thoughts are clear. Before opinions, problems, messages, and media begin competing for your attention, your mind is open, focused, and receptive. This is the moment when your thinking has the greatest influence on your direction. Once the day starts talking to you, it begins shaping you. That is why the first thoughts of the day matter more than most people realize. Contamination does not happen all at once. It happens in small, subtle ways. A notification pulls your attention. A message changes your mood. A headline creates fear or distraction. A problem demands immediate focus. None of these things are wrong by themselves, but when they enter your mind before you've centered yourself, they take control of your thinking. By the time most people start their day intentionally, their mind has already been programmed by external noise. In the early morning, your mind is free from that interference. This is when belief can be built instead of borrowed. You can choose what you think about instead of reacting to what appears in front of you. You can feed your mind vision instead of comparison, strategy instead of stress, purpose instead of pressure. That is power. And power, when used consistently, changes outcomes. Your mind works best when it is calm, not crowded. Early mornings create mental space. In that space, ideas form more clearly. Problems feel more manageable. Decisions become sharper. When you give your mind time to think before it has to respond, you move through the day with intention instead of urgency. Most people are not overwhelmed by life. They are overwhelmed by unmanaged thoughts. This is also the best time to shape your identity. What you tell yourself early in the morning becomes the voice you listen to all day. If you start your day doubting, reacting, or scrolling, that tone follows you. But if you start your day with clarity, confidence, and focus, your actions align with that mindset. The mind always looks for evidence to support the story it believes. Contaminated thinking leads to reactive living. Clean thinking leads to intentional living. That is why mornings matter so much. Once your mind is scattered, it takes effort to bring it back. But when you start the day grounded, you carry that stability with you. You are less easily shaken, less easily distracted, less controlled by circumstances. Most people let the world tell them who they are before they remind themselves who they want to become. Early mornings reverse that order. You speak first. You decide first. You set the tone instead of inheriting it. That one shift alone can change productivity, confidence, and direction. Your mind is your most valuable asset, but it is also the most vulnerable. What you allow into it first often determines what comes out of it later. Early mornings protect your thinking. They give you the chance to invest in your mind before the world starts withdrawing from it. When you consistently guard your mind in the morning, you stop living on mental autopilot. You stop being pulled in every direction. You begin acting from purpose instead of pressure. And that is when progress accelerates, not because life got easier, but because your mind got stronger. Discipline in the morning creates freedom in life, because freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the result of it. Most people chase freedom by avoiding discipline, but that path always leads to limitation. True freedom comes from doing what needs to be done before you feel like doing it. The morning is where that relationship is formed. When you discipline yourself early, you reduce chaos later. When you take control at the start of the day, the rest of the day becomes easier to manage. Morning discipline is powerful because it sets the tone for everything that follows. When you wake up early, follow through on your plan, and do the work you committed to, you send a message to yourself that you are reliable. That self-trust becomes confidence, and confidence becomes freedom. You stop feeling trapped by procrastination, guilt, or unfinished goals because you are already moving forward before most people begin. Most stress people experience is not caused by too much responsibility, but by delayed responsibility. When things are pushed to later, they pile up. When mornings are unstructured, the day becomes reactive. Discipline in the morning prevents that buildup. You handle what matters before distractions arrive. You move with intention instead of urgency. That creates mental freedom long before it creates financial or lifestyle freedom. Freedom is also about options. The more disciplined you are with your time, energy, and focus, the more options you create for yourself. People with no discipline live with few choices. They are always behind, always catching up, always responding. Disciplined people live ahead of schedule. They choose how to spend their time instead of having it decided for them. That is freedom most people never experience. Morning discipline strengthens your ability to say no. When you start your day in control, you are less likely to be pulled into distractions, drama, or unnecessary commitments. You protect your energy because you already invested it wisely. This is how discipline becomes peace. Your life feels lighter, not because you do less, but because you do what matters first. Many people believe discipline is restrictive, but the opposite is true. Discipline removes friction. It removes decision fatigue. It removes emotional bargaining. When you know what you do every morning, you don't waste energy negotiating with yourself. That clarity frees up mental space for creativity, problem solving, and growth. The freedom created by morning discipline compounds over time. One early morning won't change your life, but hundreds of them will. Consistent discipline leads to better results. Better results lead to better opportunities. Better opportunities lead to more control over how you live. What starts as waking up early eventually turns into freedom of schedule, freedom of income, and freedom of choice. People who lack freedom often blame circumstances, but circumstances respond to discipline. Your environment will eventually reflect your habits. If your mornings are intentional, your life will become intentional. If your mornings are chaotic, your life will feel chaotic. The pattern is simple, but it is not easy. Discipline in the morning is the price paid for freedom later. It is the sacrifice of comfort for control. And once you experience the freedom that comes from being disciplined, you realize something important. Discipline was never your enemy. It was always the doorway. You don't rise to your goals, you rise to your standards, because goals are what you want, but standards are what you live by. A goal is an outcome you hope to reach someday. A standard is a lev. L of behavior you refuse to fall below every day. Most people confuse the two. They set high goals but maintain low standards and then wonder why their life never changes. Wanting more does nothing if you don't demand more from yourself. Goals are inspirational, but standards are transformational. A goal says, I want to be successful. A standard says, this is how I show up, no matter what. Goals live in the future, but standards live in the present. And life is not changed in the future. It is changed by what you repeatedly tolerate and accept right now. This is why so many people stay stuck despite having big dreams. They want a better body, but their standard allows inconsistency. They want more money, but their standard allows procrastination. They want confidence, but their standard allows self-doubt to go unchallenged. Your life always reflects the lowest standard you accept, not the highest goal you imagine. Standards shape identity. When you raise your standards, you change how you see yourself. And when self-image changes, behavior follows automatically. You don't need to chase motivation anymore because standards remove the need for motivation. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this who I am? That question alone eliminates excuses. People with low standards rely on feelings. People with high standards rely on principles. Feelings change daily. Principles don't. When your life is built on feelings, it becomes unstable. When it's built on standards, it becomes solid. That stability is what creates long-term success. Raising your standards is uncomfortable because it requires you to stop negotiating with yourself. You can't say you want excellence while tolerating mediocrity. You can't say you want growth while protecting comfort. Standards force alignment between what you say you want and how you actually live. That alignment is rare and powerful. The moment you raise your standards, some things will fall away. Certain habits won't survive, certain relationships won't survive, certain excuses won't survive, and that's not loss, that's elevation. Every new level requires a new minimum. You don't rise by doing more occasionally, you rise by refusing to accept less consistently. This is why waking up early, staying disciplined, and doing the work daily matter so much. Those actions are not about the activity itself, they are about reinforcing a standard of excellence, a standard of ownership, a standard of self-respect. Over time, those standards compound into results that look extraordinary to people who never raised theirs. The world doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you tolerate. If you tolerate distraction, you get scattered results. If you tolerate inconsistency, you get unstable outcomes. If you tolerate average effort, you get average life. But when you raise your standards, life has no choice but to rise with you. You don't rise to your goals because goals can be ignored. You rise to your standards because standards become who you are. And once excellence becomes your baseline, success stops being something you chase. It becomes something you naturally attract. So this is not really about waking up at 5 a.m. It's about waking up to who you are capable of becoming. It's about deciding that your life will no longer be led by comfort, distraction, or convenience. Every early morning is a quiet vote for discipline, ownership, and higher standards. No applause, no shortcuts, just consistent decisions that shape your future. When you take control of your mornings, you take control of your mind. When you control your mind, you control your actions. And when your actions align with high standards, results are inevitable. The life you want is not waiting on motivation, luck, or permission. It is waiting on a decision. Tomorrow morning, the alarm will ask you a simple question. Will you stay where you are, or will you rise into who you're meant to be? The answer to that question, repeated daily, determines everything. Wake up early, own your time, protect your mind, raise your standards, and watch your life change one morning at a time.